Welcome to Leaving Nothing to Chance, your go-to podcast where we bring you insights from some of the most influential voices in small business and personal development. Each week, we dive deep into conversations with top thought leaders, authors, and business moguls from around the world, sharing their secrets to success and strategies for growth. Tune in for exclusive content that will inspire, motivate, and equip you to take your journey to the next level. This is Leaving Nothing to Chance.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is John Solleder and my new friend all the way from Illinois, Mr. Larry Oberheu. How are you, Larry?
Very good, John. How are you? Thanks for having me on the show.
Hey, appreciate it. This is a really interesting subject. We've talked about red light the last couple of weeks. We've talked about methylene blue. Of course, we always talk about
Good stuff.
immune products with our Immunical product that we talk about. We talk about other alternative products, but this is the first time, Larry, that we're actually talking about where everything starts in the mouth. Good subject.
That's right. Yeah, it's the epicenter of your health. If you're unhealthy in your mouth, I guarantee you're unhealthy in your body too. So people don't realize how interconnected we are. Our teeth are actually connected to every single organ in our body. So every single tooth has a corresponding organ or system that it overrides. And if you have bacteria, germs, tooth decay, things like that rotting, that goes directly into that section and can cause some serious chronic disorders. They just did in 2017, there was a study done on root canals on women with breast cancer. So they took 1,000 women with breast cancer, just a blanket 1,000 women arbitrarily. 90% of them, that's a really big number. 90% of them had a root canal or a cavitation, which is a below gum infection, which a lot of us don't even know we have, in their second to the third molar on either side, which is directly connected to the mammary gland. Now, to step that up a notch, whatever side that root canal or infection was on was the side they had the breast cancer.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a real stat. That's real. So our mouth can cause breast cancer, diabetes, heart disease, stroke. Actually, one of the leading causes of strokes and heart attacks can be your mouth. So it's pretty important to make sure that we're putting the right things in our mouth, number one, and doing a good job of cleaning it and taking care of them because it has such an impact on our health overall.
Now, you didn't start out in the dental business. We'll come back to the dental business in a second, but you were in the health insurance business with an agency for how many years? How many years in the insurance business?
25 years. Yeah, and insurance is still in my blood. We still have our agency, and I still do some business in that. But I was really heavy in it. So it was very heavy in individual health insurance, which was exactly what Obamacare was main target was that the middle. Obamacare was just basically a bomb for the middle class. It was to blow up and take out the middle class, and it's exactly what it did. We went from premiums $400 to $500, $600 maybe on the high side to now $2,800, between $2,200 and $2,800 is an average premium. That is insane. And we don't have better coverage. The coverage levels are dramatically worse than they were back then. Average deductibles back then were $1,500. Now they're $7,500. Out of pockets, you're talking $15,000 to $17,000 versus $5,000 back then. So we didn't get better. We went a lot worse. And it was by design. The middle class can't pay that. Of course, poor people get it for free. If you make under a certain income amount, you get that free or a drastically reduced premium. If you're rich, you don't really have to worry about it. It's you and I. We get destroyed with that. And that's exactly what it was designed to do. I seen it coming, but I really didn't think it was going to come into play. It definitely impacted my agency drastically. But we had a little bit of foresight and got involved in supplement insurance, dental, being one of the big ones. So we actually designed our own dental products. We had dental insurance. We went all in on that. Really the only reason I made it through. And we did well with it. And we also did some administration for some other insurance companies on their dental products. So that kind of became a little bit of what we did. But insurance was just so under fire and still is by political stuff. It was depending on who got in office of whether I was going to make money or not. And it went back and forth. And I just said, geez, I had a huge run, was super successful. And then I had about 4 or 5 years of just stumbling and tripping and ups and downs. I just said, I have to get something going outside the insurance business. That's actually where this business came from. Since we were involved in dental, I said, what if I did a dental plan that was really designed to actually help improve dental health, improve cavities and stuff like that. So because of the relationships I had with the insurance companies, I was able to sit down and talk with some of them and said, hey, if I put this together, is this something that you would back on their dental insurance side? Of course, they said, yeah, if you could put something together, we would definitely back you. So we set out to kind of lay it all out and really get involved into what's best for our mouth orally and stuff. And that's actually, and this started in about 2018, by the way. 2019 is when we really started putting the company together. But all the research I was doing, that's when I found out about fluoride and how awful it is. And a lot of people don't really realize what fluoride is. And I get some blowback from people. They're like, hey, my dentist says that's great. And he's a lot smarter than you because he went to college and universities and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, just because you read something in a book does not make it true. I can show you a lot of books that got some really cool stuff in it, but none of it's true. And that's basically what our education system is. It's indoctrination. They've indoctrinated these people. They think they're helping people, and they're actually not. So fluoride literally is toxic waste. It does not come from the ground. It is not a natural product. It's a man-made product, and it's a waste byproduct of making phosphate fertilizer. So when they make Roundup in a factory, the waste byproduct to making Roundup is fluoride. So it's literally the soot that accumulates in the smokestacks. They actually have what they call stack scrubbers that go up and down the smokestacks to pull out all that soot so that it doesn't kill people for miles around, because it actually did that back in the early 40s. They did that. They killed a lot of cattle and people. Their fix for that is that we needed a workaround, not to eliminate it. We need a workaround. And here's a little known fact. The real reason fluoride is out there is fluoride actually is a military industrial compound product. They need it because fluoride enriches uranium, and it's what makes bombs blow up. Bombs don't blow up without fluoride. They can't have it. So they need fluoride. So they actually made a decision back during the Cuban War and everybody stacking up their nuclear weapons and so forth. The military industrial complex said, hey, we need to keep making this stuff, but it's literally killing our people. People in the factories were dying of cancer and everything else. It was horrific. So they doubled down on it. The rest of the world backed off and they said, hey, we can't make this stuff. It's killing our people. Yeah, the United States says, we got this. Don't worry about that. They hired actually Edward Bernays, and he was the master of propaganda. And they hired him to actually spin and try to make something good out of fluoride. So he hired Dr. Hodges. Dr. Hodges is basically coined the father of fluoride. He was tasked with the job of finding something good about fluoride. So after killing like a ridiculous amount of animals and people, he literally tested it on his wife and killed her. That's actually fact. He killed her with fluoride. Fluoride is one of the most toxic substances known to man. It's 10,000 times more deadly than cyanide. That's what you're putting in your mouth. Less than a gram will kill a full-size human being. A little kid, a lot less than that. That's why kids should never use fluoride toothpaste. Actually, nobody should ever use fluoride toothpaste, period. But especially kids, they're very susceptible to fluoride. It is a neurotoxin and it affects the brain. It actually lowers IQ by as much as 20%. That's a fact. That was a 2019 study done, one of the most extensive studies done on it. And it's fact, they actually at 20%, up to a 20% reduction in IQ to fluoride. So that's why RFK, big push to take this out of our water. It should have never been in our water. That was actually the Bernays tactic. If we could get it in the water system and give it to everybody, any kind of lawsuits that came out about fluoride would automatically be dismissed by the court system because it's in our water. You know, so that was, hey, it's in our water, get the heck out of here. But Dr. Burke, back in the 50s, he said that everywhere fluoride was introduced before it was put in, cancer rates spiked 1,000%. Now, they ridiculed him, said he was a nut job. But in 2014, now he's dead. In 2014, they just vindicated him. He's a 100% right. Cancer rates will spike by 1,000% anywhere that it was introduced prior to not. So everything that we've learned and heard about fluoride is a complete, total lie. It is toxic, extremely toxic to our bodies. As a matter of fact, the number one cause of tooth decay in America, this is an indisputable fact, is fluorosis. Fluorosis is literally caused by fluoride. So it actually causes the exact thing that it's supposed to actually help. And that was part of the legislation. So when they fluoride, if you can sell your waste byproduct, so anybody that makes toxic waste has to pay literally billions of dollars to dispose of this properly. But little known fact, if you can sell your waste, so if your waste becomes a commodity, you do not have to dispose of it. Well, guess what they do? They sell it to our municipalities. Every single municipality pays to put fluoride in their water. So now and they sell it to the toothpaste companies and everything. And it's another things, anything waterproofing is basically fluoride. Teflon pans are fluoride as well. So they can sell it, now they can keep it, and it's a terrible byproduct that just destroys the land that it sits on. And all of that actually does blow over and get into the public and causes all kinds of anyone that lives near one of the plants, they got serious health problems, the entire towns. So it's horrific. It needs to be destroyed. There's this whole propaganda arm of it is, hey, it's great for us. It gives us good teeth. Actually, that's all a myth too. It does not give you white teeth. A lot of people think, oh, it makes your teeth white. No, it does not. It makes them yellow and brown. That's the fact. They'll turn yellow and brown with too much fluoride. That's actually the beginning stages of fluorosis. But what fluoride does do, we'll talk about the positive. This is what it does do is it kills the bacteria that causes tooth decay, gingivitis, periodontal disease, fungus, all of which lives in our mouth. It does destroy the good bacteria as well. It takes everything out. Now, we probably shouldn't use toxic waste, poison in our bodies to do that, but that's where we're at. Now, it does kill those things. No, it will kill you too. It actually absorbs into your body. It is so toxic to our soft tissue in our body that when you ingest it, our brain says, whoa, this stuff's going to kill us. It automatically makes our bones and our teeth absorb it. That's where fluorosis comes from. It's also where bone fluorosis comes from. There's another name for bone fluorosis. It's actually called arthritis. So the joint pain that we get, that we're just told is old age, is fluoride poisoning. That's exactly what it is. So it's very difficult to get out of your bones as well, but that's where we get the aches and the pains as we get older. We're just getting more and more fluoride as we get older, and it's damaging. And actually, literally, our bones will become brittle and break at one point, which is where we get hip displacements and all this other stuff. We get older, our bones break. Why? You go back 50, 60 years, and our great-great-grandfathers were out there plowing the fields by hand, and they didn't have arthritis. They didn't have any joint pain. They were good. Today, no, it's totally out. But these are things that fluoride causes. So it's actually a horrific product for us. But when you get into all natural toothpaste, was a real disappointment when we found out. We started really researching the natural taste. They're not actually good for us either. So all these people that are like, oh, natural, baking soda, this and that, those aren't actually good for us either. No, they're not poison. So that's like super cool. But they're not actually purging that bacteria. Those bacteria in our mouth, like tooth decay, gingivitis, periodontal, things like that, even fungus is very difficult to kill, by the way. Even antibiotics have a hard time killing it. So there's very few things that will actually eliminate that. And your all natural toothpaste, just don't do it, period. So that's not good because we do need to get that stuff out of there. We need to purge it. So that's when we went back and said, hey, we need to really get something that attacks this and is it actually healthy for us. And that's where the silver came. So our products are silver based.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. The silver that you use and what it does, because a lot of our people are probably not familiar with nano silver.
And there's a lot of propaganda on silver too. Silver's got what's naysayers, and a lot of the medical field will really dismiss silver and say it's bad for you and everything else. Silver is the strongest killer of bacteria known to man, period. Full stop there. There is not an antibiotic that we make today that can hold a candle to what silver can. And that's a fact. We cannot kill like silver. And antibiotics, what they do is the bacteria grows resistant to the antibiotics. Then we got what we call superbugs, which is like MRSA that exists in the hospitals because we created that bacteria strain and we don't have anything to kill it. So that's our highest level antibiotic. And then we go into MRSA. It's a superbug. It's resistant to everything we have. And people die. 6,000 people every year die from MRSA. Silver kills MRSA on contact. All we have to do is use silver and that goes away. But that's not what our medical field is designed for. They will not allow silver to be used in that fashion whatsoever. So silver kills without resistance. Bacteria can't grow resistant to it. Silver kills bacteria, germs, viruses, and fungus, all of which live in our mouth. It destroys it on contact. So it's a contact killer. It doesn't take days, weeks, or months like antibiotic does. Silver kills it immediately. And another really cool fact about silver is it doesn't kill the good bacteria in our body. That's super cool. Nothing else that I know of does that. So it destroys all the bad, not the good. So it promotes a really healthy mouth biome that's unsurpassed by anything else on the market because nothing else does that. Because our good bacteria is important. We want that to thrive. And that's kind of the essence of building a healthy health and wellness in your mouth is having that good stuff flourish and not the bad. Silver helps create that environment unlike anything else out there. It also absorbs into our bloodstream. So people do take silver as a supplement, and it absorbs sublingually in our mouth and gets into our blood, destroys free radicals, bacteria, germs, and viruses, keeps you healthy, and it will reduce colds and flus and things like that drastically. But if you take it all the time as a supplement, you just don't get sick as often. So silver boosts your immune system more than vitamin C does. So it's a huge immunity booster as well. So it does all these cool things. It also heals and regenerates. So we do use silver in hospitals for wound care. There's nothing that heals faster than silver. You put silver on an open wound, it seals it up pretty fast. On burn victims, we use silver nitrate. It actually regrows the skin tissue. So it has regenerative features, healing features, all this stuff. It really is amazing stuff. And actually, prior to 1936, that's all we used as physicians and doctors prescribed silver to their patients. We actually used silver as an antibiotic prior to that. Drug manufacturers, Rockefeller Foundation actually really started taking hold in the late 20s and early 30s. By 36, they had a pretty good hold on it. They completely removed silver from the market. They tried to make it illegal to use and completely remove it. They weren't able to do that because it was literally a medicine prior to that, but they've reduced it down to just a supplement, and you're not allowed to make any medical claims with it, or they'll take your license away, which they did during COVID. A lot of doctors actually did lose their license for prescribing silver. And because silver kills viruses, we don't actually have anything to kill viruses, but silver does. But we won't use it in that capacity.
Interesting. So you got interested in it. Let's go back to the business a little bit. Okay, so during COVID is when you started this. You had really bad timing when you started, but really good timing now that Bobby Kennedy's in. But talk about that. Talk about starting a business during COVID of all times.
Yeah. We pretty much finished everything in 2019. And I guess going back to circle around, that we actually did take this to the insurance companies. They did love it. They actually were going to implement it. They just wanted me to put fluoride in it. So I was like, it was like we talked about that. There was no way I was going to do it. Now, if I would have did that, it was a get rich quick scheme. I could have boom, 1 million customers overnight. I would have made it. But I'm just not built that way. That's not what I do. Never have. So I just said, if I can take this out on my own and do it. Of course, I didn't know that COVID was right around the corner because we actually got everything set and ready to go probably November, right around November, and part of November, we were ready. And then December, that stuff started coming in. Hey, there's this stuff in China people are getting. And then all of a sudden, okay, yeah, now it's here. So yeah, it definitely impacted us. 2020, I think for a lot of people, 2020 just didn't exist. It just kind of was there and gone. We did nothing. I had all this toothpaste that we had just made. We put this whole company together, and now we had to shut it all down because COVID. Like anything, I decided it was a couple months, and it was like 6 months in. It was kind of like, okay, this is a problem. We didn't do much in 2020 at all. So by 21, we decided that we probably should start doing some stuff. So a couple of friends of mine and people that I knew from the insurance business kind of came over, and we really started working it like a business. And April of 21, we started hitting the trade shows and expo markets, and we started pushing it that way. So that was actually, I still do those. So that was our main thing. We hit the ground running with it. And it's like you said, you get a lot of people, you're out there kind of during COVID, people got the masks on still. And, these events and stuff were just starting to come back because they went away. So there was a lot of challenges trying to talk to people with your mask on and stuff at shows. It was just ridiculous. But we got through it. And then you get people too that say, I talked to my dentist and, what do you mean fluoride's bad for you? But we had tons of literature, and that's something all the stuff that I do or say, we got literature, we got backing on it. And we have those when at the shows, we'll pull it out and say, here, it's not, I'm not making this up. This is real. And so it's a little bit of if people don't realize how bad it is, there is a kind of it's difficult. You got to break through that, that everybody is used to. So that became a challenge. We trying to target shows that people were in the same mindset. Believe it or not, we were talking a little bit before the show, the political movement is huge. And we started doing political shows. That's actually what blew us up. It was like, wow. Because here we had all like-minded people, non-vaxxers, like totally against all this stuff. And then we start talking about fluoride. They already were in that mode. Oh yeah, this is horrible stuff. And so they got it. And most of them were small business owners and really wanted to support other small business owners, which we are. So it really started clicking. So we really started gaining a lot of momentum in that market, which was really cool because it made us, we really got to know a lot of people in that movement, RFK included. So I've been at some shows with him there. I know Judy Mikovits, which she's amazing. There's Sherry Tenpenny, Brian Artist. I don't know if you know some of them. These are all doctors, are the frontline doctors, Simon Gold and Stella Emanuel, and some of the others. Zeb Zielinski recently passed, but all these guys started coming to these expos and trade shows and stuff, really political, but it was really started coming out about alternate medicines, pulling away from the medical field and going back to our roots, to the natural healing. When we actually heal people, we don't do that anymore. That's a bad word. You can't say heal, or that kind of stuff doesn't exist anymore. We just treat symptoms is all we do. But back then, when we had the empirical health system and natural healing, we literally healed people. There's over 250,000 drugs on the market. Not one of them heal or cure at all. They're all designed to treat symptoms. And most of them, I would say all, but I'll be a little more politically correct, the majority of them are all derived from natural substances. So we take a natural substance and we synthesize it with chemicals that are toxic. We make those so that they can patent it. Nobody else can use it. They can charge enormous amounts of money for it and push it out to us. And all that does is treats our body. There's nothing synthetic in this world that is good for us to take in internally. So we're putting medicine that's supposed to help us that actually destroys our body and other functions. And that's why people go on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 10 medications, because we constantly got to treat the other symptoms that these synthetic products are damaging our body from. And so there's a big kind of pull away. And I think COVID, one of the amazing things that COVID did was it did wake up a lot of people. And it woke up a lot of doctors. We literally we're at a time right now when doctors are sitting up on stage saying our whole system is completely messed up and we need to change this. And that's been quite a sight to see from 2019 to be around 25. Doctors are saying the medical field is full of crap, basically, and trying to go back to it. So we're winning for sure, slowly but surely. And that includes the dental field too. The dentists are the same. So the dentists, the American Dental Association and the American Medical Association are both owned by the Rockefeller Foundation. They both believe in the same thing, and that's pump us full of a bunch of poison. And that's what dentists do. And I'm not saying that dentists are evil people. They got big egos. You can't tell them anything. They're the smartest guy in the whole room. And they're certainly not going to listen to me or you or anybody else tell them that, because they went to school and they read it in a book, so it must be right. Problem is that those books are not correct, and the indoctrination, that's where it started, and they can't get through it. Now you got some do, you got more of your holistic or your biological dentists have broken free from them, and they're completely against fluoride and root canals and things like that. Those are your good dentists, of course, not covered by the insurance companies though. Those are the expensive ones.
You're making a great point, but I've seen in my business a lot of doctors that came from the allopathic world that said, you know what, I'm frustrated that I can't really help people.
Yeah.
Or in some cases, okay, the doctor themselves becomes the patient. And they start to look at those alternative means and saying, hey, you know what? I'm not getting well taking the stuff I've given to 1,000 patients. Maybe I ought to look, and that doesn't mean eliminate the need for allopathic medicine, but it means maybe it's the thing. And I'll give you a fast example. Right. I tore my right shoulder up. Three of the four connectives basically to my. I tore them. And right. I went to a doctor that was recommended to me, an orthopedist. The guy came in, didn't even know my name. Looked at my x-ray, said, you need total shoulder replacement surgery. I don't do that. Gives me another guy's card, says, go to this place and set yourself up for surgery. Like, wow, that was personal. Then I go to another orthopedist, okay, so another member of the AMA, right on my street here in Richardson, Texas. This guy says, no, he goes, that's all wrong. He says, let's try this. Okay, some stretching that he gave me. Let's try a couple alternatives. Let's try some red light therapy, right? Let's try some deep tissue massage. Let's try some. Now, if all that fails, you still have the option to go get your shoulder replaced. Now, I have a buddy that played for the Packers years ago. He had his shoulder replaced. Poor guy still can't get his arm past here.
Oh, yeah. That's a horrible surgery.
There's my arm, okay?
Yeah.
Still bench pressing and throwing shot puts and discuses at 64. If I'd had that replacement, no, I may have been better than he is. But my point is, I want, from my standpoint, okay, I want a guy who says, hey, let's try everything natural before we cut you or put you on something that you're going to have to do the rest of your life. And if you have to be, okay, so be it. I think the science is there. But at the end of the day, let the science meet after we try everything that we possibly can. Now, if you have a car accident and you're dying and they want to pump you through it full of NAC to save your life, well, great, save the patient first, then figure out how you clean up the guy's nutrition and diet and everything else. We're definitely on the same page. So let me ask you a couple other things. So you start this company. Here we are now, almost 7 years later, right? Time has flown post-COVID, right?
Yeah.
I think what's funny, it's like when my nephew and niece are now in their late 30s, and they said everything when 9/11 happened because they were kids. For us, it was more like Kennedy or RFK Sr. or Martin Luther King getting assassinated in the 60s. But now I think young people, it's like everything is COVID. Yeah, you know what I mean? Even me, it's like, I think, okay, 5 years ago, it was, okay, what were we doing? We were sitting here talking to each other at the room, but you couldn't go have a cup of coffee with somebody at Starbucks. It's crazy. But anyway, let me get back to a couple more.
Yeah, very crazy.
Because it's fascinating. So what's the progress of the company been? Are you just here in the U.S.? Are you international?
Not international yet. We're pretty much just focused in the U.S. at this point. We were talking with some people that want to bring it into some other countries. We have sold in some other countries on Amazon because we're on Amazon too, but not a huge presence in there. So yeah, the U.S. is our main thing now. We don't do retail currently right now. That's not one of our. It never was our business model right from the start. We're a direct-to-consumer company. Not to say that we would not do a retail, but retail just wasn't in the cards for us, especially early on. I'm completely self-funded, so toothpaste is not an easy business to get into. Huge quantities involved and a lot of money, and to manage inventory and growth rates and stuff like that for retail is tough because you might get into a place that buys whatever 20, 30, 50, 100 cases of it, but if it doesn't continue, then you have problems. So as you ramp up your stocks and stuff, it can be a real issue and a real problem. And retail really isn't the same game as it used to be 20 years ago. But so we decided I wanted to go direct to consumer. So that was just made sense. It allowed us to scale our inventory better and grow with it rather than trying to beef it up and then try to make the sales we were able to do at the same time. So it really helped us with that transition. We're at the point now where we can do retail, and we have had some talks with some people even recently, but our main thing is just our subscription thing. We do a direct consumer subscription. You don't have to, of course, we offer as an option. It is growing and it's doing really well. I think a lot of people are trying to get away from the Walmarts and the Amazons and stuff and try to support more local businesses and stuff, which we are direct to the customer, and that's what we do. And we all brush our teeth. We all buy this stuff anyway. We just drop it off for you. And we got a lot better contents. We don't have any toxic materials in it. We don't use fluoride. And silver made us really unique. At the time, we were probably one of the first silver pastes to the market. There are other ones now, but we were first to market on it. So there wasn't really a lot out there at all. And then you had to deal with a little bit of the negative condensation of silver because people would say, oh, it's a metal, heavy metals. You don't want to put that in our body, which is, for the most part, that's true. We don't want the heavy metals in our body, lead, mercury, which is your fillings are made out of. But silver is not a heavy metal. Silver is a noble metal. Noble metal means that it's a mineral. So it is silver's a mineral and a metal. And it's a mineral that we actually happen to require. So our bodies require silver. So it's something that we have to have. So number one, it does conduct electricity, and our bodies are electrical. We are electrical creatures. So it does help that, but it boosts your immune system. It's an immunity booster, and it destroys bacteria, germs, and viruses in our body. It's a trace mineral that we used to get from farming. So plants, vegetables, and so forth, that's where we got that. Everything's over processed and manufactured now. We've engineered all the minerals out of most of our food, so we don't get silver, let alone many other minerals that we actually require. I think they said something like 90% of Americans are deficient in quite a bit of minerals. And these minerals are important to our body. Silver, like I said, happens to be a big one. And actually, you look at like the elites of the world or royalty have actually known this forever. So your kings and your queens and so forth, the elites, we used to call them blue bloods. You've heard that term. So blue bloods actually comes from silver. So they intake silver a lot. They drink out of silver cups, silver plates, silverware. All of this was created for them, not for us, because the peasants didn't get it. But they ingested large amounts of silver. And large amounts of silver actually will turn your blood a tinge blue. That's the word, blue bloods. That's where that comes from. Born with a silver spoon in your mouth, all of that was that's where that comes from there. And that's why they live to 100 years old and we do not. They don't get sick. We don't get it. They do. And that's why there's a huge disparity in health and wellness end of it. And plus, they don't eat the garbage that they make us eat. But that's a big part of it there.
I knew this story about the Mad Hatter with the lead hats.
Mercury.
Put the hats on to make hats in England way back would go nuts. And then they finally figured out, they put lead in the brain.
Yeah, with mercury in it. Yeah. In the rims on them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, heavy metals. And that's what our fillings, a lot of people think fillings are silver. Oh, that's in your mouth. No, those are amalgams, and that's made from mercury and lead. They're colored silver, but that's about as much it has in common with it. And those are toxic, and they actually can create a lot of serious medical problems. That's why a lot of people are trying to get those out now. You're removing them and going with the white resin type fillings because, these are poisoning people and causing some serious problems.
I know we're going to include a link in the show here, but if people want to get the product, where do they go?
Yeah, freshmouthclub.com is our website, freshmouthclub.com. Or your link will just point them right in there. And we're one of the very few companies where we're a complete and total oral healthcare system. We got everything from nuts to bolts. We do manual brushes, we do sonic toothbrushes, we do the mouth rinse in our toothpaste is our centerpiece product. But we do UV sterilization on all of our stuff because like your toothbrush and so forth, the toothbrush is the filthiest thing in your house. There's more bacteria in it than any other thing in our house that we stick it in our mouth every day, not thinking about it. Believe it or not, the toothbrush actually makes us sick on a regular basis. Sore throats, canker sores, and intestinal issues are very common, but we just don't realize it and keep sticking them in our mouth and swishing them around. But they did a recent study in the hospital, 30% of heart disease patients literally can be traced back to the toothbrush. That's actually how toxic they can be. People have literally died from bacteria on their toothbrush. That is super, super rare. The point is it's happened. It can happen. So that bacteria grows and festers, and the longer you use it, the worse it gets. There's stuff where, hey, every 3 months replace it. Yeah. Every month you want to replace that thing. It's a bacterial-ridden wand that you're jabbing in your mouth. And all that bacteria is actually getting into our system. So you need to replace those once a month. That's kind of part of our program. Monthly, we give you a new toothbrush, toothpaste, mouthwash, floss, timer delivered for you. And then what we use UV sanitations. This is one of our manual toothbrush. You pop it open, put your toothbrush in there, and the UV light actually cleans the brush. So we have similar on our sonic toothbrushes, also have the UV sanitation. So all of our stuff is UV, because we want to start with a good, healthy toothbrush and it doesn't have bacteria on it. But that's a positive thing. And you want to throw those things away. When they start to fray, they cause micro tearing in our gum tissue, which allows the bacteria to get into our system. And that's where it can cause some serious issues. So we want to eliminate that by keeping a brush replaced on an ongoing basis, whether you use an electric or a manual. So replace them every month, clean them every day. And that's kind of part of the program because our mouth is, again, interconnected with everything. So that's a hugely important. And then we also use ozone. Ozone is almost as cool as silver. We really like ozone. We have a couple different modes of ozone. We use ozonated oils for like oil pulling, which is phenomenal for our mouths. We've had customers with periodontal disease, which is pretty common nowadays, and it's incurable in modern dentistry. So a dentist will tell you, they're just going to give you a bunch of antibiotics and you're going to take this for the rest of your life. Not good for you. We actually were within about 3 months, 3 to 4 months of using our product, we've actually eliminated into periodontal disease. So it's not that difficult to kill. The ozone is a huge component of it, but that's called our perio swish. So that it's done amazing things for people. Really keeps your mouth oral biome super healthy. Then we also make ozone water. So do ozone. This is a water bottle. You can see it. This will make ozone so that you can rinse with it. But it also makes hydrogen. A lot of people are into hydrogen water. Hydrogen water is all the rage. It is actually super good for you, very healthy. So those bottles do. There you go.
Some right now.
Is that hydrogen?
Hydrogen. I've actually got a little oregano in here
There you
to
go.
fight my allergies.
Oh, that's it. Oregano is amazing. Yeah, so hydrogen's super beneficial for us. So you can use the hydrogen function to use that kind of all day, every day, as much as you want to. That just super hydrates our body at a much higher level. It's really amazing for us. And then the ozone, it's a dual functioning. We have one of the only dual functioning bottles on the market that I know of. The ozone is really cool. Ozone's made from oxygen. It's 3 oxygen molecules bound together with electricity. Lightning makes it in nature naturally. You take clothes out of the dryer, you get that static cling, you smell that. That's the ozone is the gas. It can be dissolved in water, which those machines do, so then it makes ozonated water. Ozone is one of the most sterile substances known to man. It is 10 times more powerful than bleach, but it is non-toxic to our bodies. So it's actually really healthy for us. And I get asked all the time, do you drink it? Absolutely. I drink it every day. So we use it as a rinse. First of all, you kind of rinse with it, which does really great stuff, and then swallow. And then drink the rest of it. When you drink ozone water, it permeates the blood very quickly. And its ozone form, it destroys bacteria, germs, viruses, and fungus like a napalm. It just destroys everything. It's amazing at it. Then what happens is that actually, if it comes in contact with cancer, by the way, it destroys the outer shell of cancer. It will peel away the shell, which is this protective coating. And then it falls apart. So it's a very unstable molecule. It only lasts for about 30 minutes. And as it falls apart, it creates oxygen. It just turns back into oxygen. Excess oxygen in our body is amazing for us. So it reduces inflammation. Oxygen is what heals our cells, our tissues, our organs, everything. Using it as a rinse, that oxygenation that helps heal gum tissue and things like that. But in our bodies, when ozone destroys the outer casing of cancer, the oxygen actually kills the cancer. Oxygen is cancer's worst nightmare. So it actually, and they're doing a lot of studies with it. It's not made up stuff. There's lots of studies on ozone therapy for cancer patients because it annihilates it. It also passes blood-brain, pulls a lot of excess oxygen into our brain, which actually helps cognitive function. They're doing testing with Alzheimer's and dementia patients because of that. So it's really super good for us. So I tell people the ozone a couple times a day is all you need to do it. There's no real nutritional value in ozone. It's strictly a therapeutic product. So you drink it twice a day, which happens to work really well with our brushing system, once in the morning, once at night. You kind of rinse with it and then drink it. Then throughout the day, you do the hydrogen, which is really awesome for us as well. So there's a 1-2 punch for you there too. But the ozone really, even your biological dentists are doing ozone irrigation on a tooth that needs a root canal. They're able to save the tooth, not every time, but in a lot of cases. And then they use silver to actually help rebuild the tooth, which is, we already use silver, which kind of brings me a little bit back to silver, talking about it again. Silver heals and regenerates. We use a nano silver. The nano silver actually penetrates the interior of our teeth into the core, the dentin, and it actually heals and regenerates inside of our teeth. And what that does is actually creates new enamel. So it sheds new enamel, which is pretty much unheard of, and gum tissue regeneration. Those are two things your dentist will say that's not possible. Nano silver is changing the game on it. And this is a me saying that. There's actual clinical studies on this. So nano silver actually regenerates the enamel. It can heal cavities naturally. We've literally had tons of people. I get emails all the time. It healed my cavity, or it healed the crack in my tooth, and it sealed it back up. So it literally will heal the teeth and the gum tissues, which again is supposed to be not possible. But our bodies are pretty amazing. We're amazing creatures. We can heal. Our bodies can heal almost everything, given the right circumstance and environment. Silver actually helps create the right environment, a very pH balanced, only the good bacteria, not the good, not the bad. It helps set that up in our mouth, which actually just helps heal. And the silver does regenerate and heals as well. So the two together actually can help heal the mouth in a lot of ways.
Larry, this has been a privilege. I know I learned a lot. You do these podcasts and you're doing it as a host on the one hand. On the other hand, it's like an education. So
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I certainly want to try your product and certainly encourage other people to do so. Because yeah, you're absolutely right. Everything starts here. So from food to dental care to everything else. I think I told you I've interviewed two guys, one an electrical engineer, the other a chiropractor, that both got into the red light world early on, one from the 70s and the early 80s. And both of them talk about the fact that the red light stuff started from the blue light that the dentists were using.
Yeah.
It's kind of, once again, everything kind of starts from the mouth. This is great and continued good success. And I'll give you the last word. Anything else you want to tell our listeners?
Yeah, just everybody that's interested in health and wellness and things like that, which I consider ourselves more of a health and wellness company more than anything. I think that a lot of people overlook some of the real basic things, and our mouth is pretty important to that. So if you want to have a healthy and a life full of more health and wellness in there, we've got to start in the mouth, really think about that, try to help heal it. Stay away from your toxic toothpaste and the fluorides and stuff like that, which just deteriorate our health. And silver is the opposite of that. Boosts our immune system, heals, regenerates. It's positive for our body. And as you brush your teeth, you do get that in your system as well. So we're replenishing that silver that we should actually have in our body. So it kind of works as a twofold. Not only is it good for our mouth, it's good for our body and our immunity as a whole. And silver helps do that, helps put it all together.
Thanks again, Larry. Appreciate it, and look forward to trying the product.
Sounds good, John. Take care. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check back weekly for more exciting episodes. And don't miss Ink and Insight every Wednesday, where we celebrate iconic authors and dive into their impactful works.